Welcome to this presentation entitled Adoptees Sense of Identity. Here is a content table offering the different topics that will be mentioned, beginning with a short introduction of adoption in the UK. Each year in the UK there are around 3,000 to 4,000 children that are adopted. Despite of this great number of adoptions, remain thousands of children waiting to be adopted by a new, safe and loving family. The current table details the drastic decrease of adoption since 2015. Some cultures around the world, such as in Asia and Africa, have always valued kinship and ancestry, and this is why they never closed their adoption records. However, this was not a worldwide vision. It wasn't until the Adoption Act 1926 that the UK implemented the Adopted Children's Register. Still, though, the focus of legislation was placed on adopters' privacy rather than on children's needs, meaning that most frequently, birth and adoptive parents knew nothing about one another. Adoptees were referred to as illegitimate and obtained a new identity. They had no right to obtain their original birth certificates or tracing their birth parents until the 1976 Adoption Act. The Act stated that contact with birth family could be arranged through a court decision. However, this rarely happened, as adoption was still seen as a tool for total severance of the past. Closed adoption was seen as beneficial for all parties, offering adopters to appear like a natural birth family, but also to protect unmarried mothers from stigmatization. It is thanks to numerous studies about adoptees' trauma and genealogical bewilderment that changes in the adoption cultures and practice around the world emerged, resulting in many countries like the UK to open their adoption records in the best interest of the child. Nowadays, many laws and policies, including those two, are in place to protect one's identity. Today, in most of the UK, adoptees are entitled to access their full birth certificate from the age of 18. The United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child came into force in the UK in 1992, and it composed 54 articles defending children's rights on every aspect of their life, including the protection and preservation of their identity. This is not the case everywhere in the world. Indeed, in 2021, 42 states in the US have tight restrictions concerning birth certificates, as even after reaching adulthood, adopted individuals often struggle accessing their original birth identity. Adolescents go through rapid and complex changes which significantly influence the development of their later adjustments. During this period, individuals are in search of a sense of identity. Erickson explained that this stage of psychosocial development, called identity versus confusion, is based on one's questioning of their own identity. Questions arising may include: what is my identity? Who am I? Where do I come from? The prefrontal cortex of the brain goes through the most changes which concern cognitive functions, including self-awareness. Alex Haley explains a profound hunger to know their background identity is felt by all individuals. He adds that when knowledge is not accessible, no matter what our attainments in life, there is the most disquieting loneliness. In addition to the challenge adolescents can face when integrating a sense of identity, adoptees must comprehend who they are as an adopted individual, in addition to the feeling of being abandoned. The degree of curiosity and desire to know their biological family, original identity and background differs from each adopted individual, of course. As observed on the map, there is not an exhaustive list of countries allowing same-sex adoption around the world in 2018. This list has recently reduced since Hungary banned same-sex adoption in December 2020. Despite the opposition from the Catholic Church, same-sex adoption was declared lawful in the UK with the 2002 Adoption and Children Act, which came into practice in 2005. Although some faith-based adoption agencies requested an exemption, Tony Blair, Prime Minister at the time, mandated that from 2008 all agencies will need to follow the Adoption and Children Act and include same-sex adoptions. This is further ensured by the Equality Act 2010. Official statistics show the increase of same-sex adoption in the UK. Hayes proclaimed that mainstream parenting is superior than same-sex parenting and believed that one needs a mother to well develop. On the contrary, some researchers found that when fathers spend a lot of time bonding with their child, the areas of brain that control the emotions enhance. They concluded that homosexual fathers and mothers' brain were equally active. Similarly, a recent longitudinal study on adolescence's adjustment showed that homosexual males are as competent as lesbian or heterosexual couples when parenting adopted adolescents. A great amount of research found that what is more important for a child's healthy development is the family process rather than the structure. Being raised by homosexual parents has been argued to hamper the development of adoptees' sense of gender identity. Roski defines this as the fear of the queer child. The concept of gender identity can be seen as an umbrella term that gathers different facets that will influence one's adjustment. Assimilating gender roles and behaviors can become a central source of anxiety during adolescence when they're making sense of their own identity. A study on gender identity in adoptees from same-sex couples revealed that children from homosexual mothers tend to feel less pressured than other children to conform to gender stereotypes of Western societies. Earlier research results may enable to justify those findings, as they revealed that children feel less pressure about gender conformities when brought up within an open-minded family context. The same study found that homosexual parents are generally broad-minded about gender-related behaviors. Furthermore, it's indicated that boys raised by homosexual mothers globally consider less one gender as superior than another. In the UK, there is no legal obligation to have an open adoption, meaning that adoptive and birth families do not require to be in contact with one another. However, this is as common as 84% of adoptive families maintain indirect communication. Letterboxes are common tools allowing birth and adoptive families to maintain this contact through letters and photos. This is usually organized and monitored by the adoption social worker. This concept of open adoption began with the rise of awareness of positive self-identity formation in adoptees and was found to be very beneficial in the identity construction. There are different degrees of open adoption where the birth family is more or less included in the child's life. Contact and reunion with birth family can be really complex and emotionally difficult. This has been compared to Pandora's box because one could not know what will be discovered. Following the Abortion Act, less children were placed for adoption on the will of the parents. Indeed, nowadays, approximately 2/3 of the children are placed in care for adoption due to neglect, abuse, or family dysfunction. Although the government aims to keep families together as much as possible, the urge to safeguard children frequently finds adoption as the best on the interest of the child. To summarize, it seems wise to highlight the importance of appropriate legislation to protect individuals' identity. This is essential in order to provide support to adoptees in the process of identity formation. This subject has been highly interesting and I researched it with passion. Time limitation did not allow me to go through transracial adoption, although I had greatly researched the topic. This was a little frustrating as the subject is truly gripping. A difficulty that I have faced is to stick to specific angles and not to do too much wider reading, as I got really engaged in the research process. If time had allowed me to, I would have appreciated to further my research and read about additional aspects, including the reunion with birth family and adoptees' discovery of birth siblings. Thank you for having followed this presentation. Please find on the next slides the resources used for my research.